Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry.
Work Besties!
Literal favorite episode ever. I did something daring. Over the past couple of months have been anxiously DMing somebody nonstop to try and get her to come on our podcast. And she wrote back. And I'm so excited because she's probably doesn't even realize how much joy she brings to not just me, but everyone that I flip her work memes to, which is at least once a day, if not more. So I'm super excited to have Char on our podcast, but you might know her as Gnarlyoodles. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast, and I'm super happy and excited that I'm given this opportunity, especially from you guys, because like my content revolves around work besties, and you guys are the Work Bestie podcast. So I feel it's so fitting to have this as my first podcast. So thanks for having me.
We're so honored. Yes, we're so honored.
In real Star Trek, I have to say, we have a celebrity.
So, as you know from my numerous DMs and emails, because of the fact that our focus is work, life, and work besties, I have fell in love with your content right away because of the focus of that. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing how you got started, what your inspiration, why did you decide to focus on work relationships and work memes?
That's a very good question. Working in retail, customer service for 15 years, a lot of it adds up to it. I don't know. I just was sat here and I was like, hey, let me just make some videos. I'll start off with TikTok. And I did TikTok. I was kind of like roaming around to see like, am I going to make like mom content? Am I going to do this? But then I did a meme with two dancing bears. And it was like me and my work bestie hyping each other while work falls apart. And that literally just went crazy. That went viral. So I thought, okay, well, people like work besties. I don't remember seeing much work besties out there. So I was like, let me try it. Let me just continue this path and ride this wave is what I always say. So let me just ride this wave and we'll go from there. So I rode this wave and then I started just poking fun on like a lot of the work stress. A lot of that has happened from my own personal experience. And it's mind blowing how relatable that was, because when you're going through that, you feel like you're by yourself. Or like sometimes you talk to someone and they'll say, it's okay, you'll get over it. Oh, that's part of the job. It's part of work. But we shouldn't sacrifice our mental health for work. There has to be some sort of balance.
For sure. I think to your point, what's really amazing about your content is it took me a while to figure out what industry you even worked in. And it didn't even matter, to be fair, because your content is so relatable no matter where you work and what kind of experiences you've been through. So I think it's impressive, to your point, that there hadn't been something like this before, because there's so much that we could be sharing with each other and talking about. And in many cases, your little bit of poking fun of it causes us all to feel a little bit better and have that moment of relief, right? Like, there was one was a quote from Cougar Town, and it was like, my anger is a puddle. And she goes, 5, 4, 3.
That's true.
I do that at work. And I was like, I saw that come up, and I'm like, I've been seen.
Yes, that is so true. I mean, that applies everywhere, especially when you're customer facing. It's just like you just need that time to breathe, or sometimes like work pushes you to the edge, but you have to maintain that professionalism. So you can't just like be yourself and just pop off or whatever. You have to maintain that professionalism. So you just need to breathe and just relax. So yeah, that's actually a true story. Happened one too many times.
We deal with people, and personalities are very different. Even if it's retail or if you're in a corporate environment, you don't know what they're coming at you with, what the kind of day they've had. And so sometimes they take it out on you, and you've got an option to roar back or to take the positive approach.
Exactly.
You don't think it's relatable to everyone until like you see stuff like this and you spread it around. And I emailed it to pretty much everybody, and they all were like, yeah, this is so relatable.
Thank you.
Exactly, because you see, it's not just me. right? So it becomes this little community where we are all together, and it's like a release also for us to say, okay, it's not just for me. And at the end, it makes you laugh also that, like, oh my God, that was me. Okay, I'm not the only one. And that is something that is incredible. It's also a lot of being inspirational. And I have to say, it's also giving advice. You've been giving advice also to your audience. You see this authenticity that you're bringing to this environment that is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. And I don't know if people know this, but I actually try my hardest to read the comments. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, when I post that stuff, like 95% of the comments that I get is, this is so me. This is so me, the accuracy. So it's just that relatability. And like you said, it's just, I'm able to relate to people when it comes to that. And my message is that, you know, you're not alone. You know, you're definitely not alone. We're all going through it. You know, like, it's tough, but then just, you know, sometimes laughing is the best coping mechanism.
Definitely the best medicine.
How long ago was it? When did you start that journey?
So I left the end of 2022. So my rage quitting, I did. That was me. Yeah, which I actually like. If I were to go back, I would recommend for people to have a plan and not just leave. I was just I the thing with me is that I'm a people pleaser. So I always put like my work in front of everything, including my family. Eventually, I started putting it ahead of my family. So I think that with me just trying to please everyone at work, you know, my priorities shifted to like now I'm pleasing a job. Now, you know, fast forward, I'm pleasing a job that will easily just replace me tomorrow, you know, which, you know, there were a few incidents where it was close to it because the store had closed. So I had to reapply for my position rather than transferring. So starting the beginning of 2023, I did this until now.
That's what gave you the inspiration for your handle, Gnarlyoodles? Because it's very unique. I have never seen or heard of anything out there. And sometimes I just say it because it's fun. And I never know if I'm even saying it right because I always want to put an N in it.
Because I love the word gnarly. Gnarly's very like unique. I like saying it. My husband likes to say gnarly also. And I love noodles. So I was like, okay, play with words, we'll put them together. But when I went to create it, it said it was taken. So I was like, okay, well, let me just drop the N, do Gnarlyoodles, and luckily no one has it. So I'm able to keep that name consistent all across the board. So
Now, another question, because it's all about work bestie, right? Do you have a work bestie? So is it really, you know, from coming from experience that you have a work bestie, and what does it represent for you?
So, yes, I do have a work bestie. He is my work bestie turned bestie. We met at my previous job, and it's funny too because I never had a work bestie. I never did. Like I worked at retail stores. I worked at a restaurant, and I never really had a work bestie. I was more like I'm here to do a job. I'll work. If you want to hang out, let's hang out. Just keeping it cordial. Then he came along, and it's just, I don't know, there was just something about him where we just clicked. I don't know what it was, but we just clicked. And eventually he ended up the transition from coworkers to friends to like work bestie. Thinking about it, I can't remember how exactly he transitioned, but all I can say is that there was just something with us where we just clicked. There was like a bond there or something. It's so hard for me. It's very hard for me to explain. Like I try to explain it to people, but I just can't. I feel like I can't find the right words for it, except that we just clicked.
Yeah, Char, you're not the first one on this podcast to say that. There are so many that say that. It's almost like when you find your significant other.
Yes, exactly.
It's a little different types of sparks, but it sparks the same.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's tough because I get a lot of comments where, that they did have a work bestie, but that work bestie, I guess either they moved up or something like that. But long story short is that they turned on them. So it's tough, you know. Luckily he didn't, but it's just something clicked, you know, between the two of us. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, all my work bestie stuff is inspired by our relationship. Every little thing from sneaking off to go chit chat in the break room to making sure our manager isn't watching us so that we can go chit chat, or you know, if it's slow or we're bored, we'll go over to each other's desk and we'll just chit chat and all that stuff. So it's somehow, some way he's
like they away on vacation and missing each other, like all the stuff that they bring you up to speed on.
Exactly. But then eventually that, you know, that was nice and fun. But eventually our friendship progressed because like there was a lot of significant changes that happened, constant significant changes that happened with the company we were working at. So eventually it started taking a toll on us with our mental health, how we were feeling. We would wake up like all of a sudden, like I'll share with him, hey, you know what? I woke up at 2 a.m. because I forgot to do something. Now I've been up since like 2 a.m. and now we're at work, you know, just thinking about it. And I can't go back to sleep. And then that's when he would open up and say the same thing. You know, it's so funny. I was up since 4 a.m. And then just that constant like bonding. If our manager said something or a change of protocol, we would just talk to each other about how we felt. Oh, didn't they do just a change yesterday? And it's just, we understood each other. It's like thinking about it, you know, your work bestie is your therapist, you know, because no one will understand work. No one will ever understand the stuff that happens at your work, unlike your work bestie, because they're going through it with you.
Totally.
You can tell your spouse, you can tell your, you know, your significant other, your family, like, you know.
But it's just not the same.
It's not the same because they understand it.
Yeah. They know the other players, they know the other things, and like they were there at times to witness some of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're hitting on like the second topic that we get brought up a lot too, is how you became friends tends to be from a traumatic experience, which is the part that's sad, but at least there's a positive outcome from it. And to your point, having you find that other person in your work environment, it's so critical. And one of the reasons why we started this podcast was to like encourage this newer generation, especially because there is still a lot that are working from home or kind of resisting on going back into the office. But we're like, you need to do it because you need to meet these people who also will become such an important lifeline for you, not just from a work aspect, but also well balanced. Like your mental wellness really needs it.
Exactly. Especially with how hard things are nowadays. Yeah, that's just it.
Yeah, and I like the way also you say that your work bestie really understand what you're going through, because our significant others or best friend or whatever, they don't get it because they are not there, and sometimes or they would downplay or try to give solutions that are not relatable because it's not possible.
Exactly.
So having that, even this safe environment, it's so important to support.
Exactly. I absolutely agree with you. And then sometimes like it's hard to open up with, you can't open up with everyone at work because unfortunately not everyone is your friend at work. You know, I've learned that. I've definitely learned that. So it's unfortunate that, you know, you can't really open up like that. But once you find that work bestie and you have that ability to open up with that person, it's great. It's great to have that person with you.
Say it. What's the number one thing about a work bestie? It's the trust.
It is. Yes, it is the trust. And it's funny that you say that because we actually have something where it's like, you know, if he were to break my trust or if I were to break his trust, we have so much dirt on each other. We can easily expose each other. We can easily cancel each other.
Like only do more damage.
Exactly. So it's like a contract that he can't break, you know?
Yes. I go down, you're going down with me.
Exactly.
But that's only something you can say to a work bestie, and like you're feeling about it, but you also mean it.
Exactly. You can laugh about it, but there's also some truth behind it.
I can't wait to meet your work bestie and have
you'll
him.
love him.
I just feel like the four of us would be like dying of laughter over all these things.
How do I describe him? So I'm a little bit timid, so a little calm. He's very extroverted, I guess. So he brings out another side of me. You know how besties are, yeah. So there's always the calmer one.
We also like yin to the yang. There's one that's going to be more reserved.
Exactly.
Still clubs two things.
She's doing my Claude 101, which is Char, support, yin and yang.
Yes, exactly.
Completely random question, which I hope you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, of course.
So, in addition to the fact that I just love your content, I've noticed that you have some really cool T-shirt designs, and sometimes I feel like they're kind of recognizable, but kind of not. Is that purposeful?
Yes, so it's a family kind of thing that we do. So I have the idea. Unfortunately, I can't draw stick figures, even if my life depended on it. So I'm so blessed to have a cousin that's very artistic. So I just tell
These
him
are custom made
ideas.
shirts.
Yeah, so he draws them all from scratch. Like I just shoot him an idea. Hey, can you do this and this? And then he'll draw it. And then if there's any tweaks or changes, then he'll do it, and he literally puts my vision to life. Like I don't know how he does it, even though he lives in another country, he still does it. You know, so our theme for it is kind of just to bring out a little bit of nostalgia.
Okay.
Because me being a 90s kid, I feel like that's a really, really fun era because I feel like that's the last time kids ever really got a chance to play outside. So I'm just trying to relive that, bringing that nostalgia back. So just mashing things up. So just giving him ideas. He draws them and he's the one that puts them to life.
Some of those shirts are just so freaking cute. And
Thank you.
Challenging subject is you said before that your work bestie was your first work bestie, that prior to him you didn't have a work bestie. So do you see a big difference, right, between when in your career, in your previous job without work bestie, and then this job with, can you elaborate a bit? Like, do you see a big difference?
So yeah, there's a huge difference because in my previous jobs, it's just if there were like stress or if I had an issue, maybe I don't know if issue would be a nice word, but like if I had an issue with maybe a coworker or maybe like someone said something or the manager, I couldn't really tell anyone like my coworkers in full detail how I really felt because like the trust wasn't there. There was no trust. So like I always had my guard up where it's like I'll tell you like if I'm like, feeling a certain way, but it's not to the full like extent, where it's just just like I'm just laying it out there, like as if I'm laying in the couch, talking to my therapist. I'll just say enough, just be like, yeah, I was very upset. But with having that work bestie where you're able to just let it all out, there is a huge difference because kind of like you're able to just let out your frustrations on someone or to someone that understands it. That understands it because you built that trust. And like we mentioned earlier, trust is the biggest thing because if there's no trust, then you can't really have those kind of conversations with them. And then the other before, like there was no trust. I didn't have that. I didn't click with anyone or I didn't feel that bond, that instant bond that I felt with him until I met him, so it's definitely the trust.
It really shows how important, a work bestie is, and we can see it in your content. There's really something about work bestie that is so important,
very important,
and to do your frustration, but also to relate and even to laugh.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. You brought up laughing, so it's just like you have the one that you're able to vent with, etc., talk to, etc. But it's always those inside jokes.
Yes,
it's always those
do you have nicknames?
You say that the nicknames.
Yes, like I've never had inside jokes. I mean, there were inside jokes, but not to this extent. Where our inside jokes were like, oh, Big Bird's here. So it's like we instantly already knew. And the thing is that we were always laughing, and everyone were always wondering, why are you guys laughing? But the only thing is that because either he said something, I said something, we have an inside joke or anything like that, and it also makes work fun. There you go. So thank you for bringing up the funny because besties, like aside all of the venting and the therapy, the trauma bonding, they make work fun. Like work is not, but before work was never fun, but they make work fun because it's like little jokes, the inside jokes, the nicknames and everything. If they say a word like I will never let it die is because in a meeting, he had mentioned, like, we were in a meeting, he meant to say observant.
Oh no.
He said it's very important to be absorbent.
Do you have kitchen sponges at every occasion?
Yeah, so of course, like, I couldn't hold that. I died right then and there, and my manager's just looking at me, and I'm trying to keep myself together, but it's so hard because he said something. So now forever, like, instead of saying observant, I'm always like, yeah, because you're very absorbent, aren't you? So it's just that laughing, that funness, that funniness, So.
You have to come on now just to set the record straight.
I know. Now, because you know what that means. That's payback now. I think I set myself up for something. So, yeah. He's great. He is great. There might be two sides of every story because he has his own side and I have my side.
As I like to say, there's the right side and then there's Claude's side.
I'm stealing that from you. I'm going to tell him that.
I
love that. I do. I love it.
No, but I totally agree also with the fun part, right? Like, this is not in the same department as me anymore, and I know that I was going to I was I was eager to go to the office, when Jess was next to me. It made me want to come to the office a lot more because I knew I would be laughing.
Exactly. And it's just like, that's another part of having a work bestie is that, nobody looks forward to going to work. But when you have that work bestie, it's going to be a good time. And luckily, you guys were able to sit next to each other. Our manager always separated us because we were always either laughing or nudging each other or pinching each other, So we were always separated, like our desks. Like, she would put my desk in one side of the office, and then his desk would be on the other side. So he's a chatterbox. I love him, but he's a chatterbox. He talks so much that he ended up next to the manager.
What is it, like school that you put
to the teacher?
And it's funny too because, like, thinking about it, when I was like, making these like memes and skits about work besties, I'm just like, wow, I feel like we're like little children and our manager was babysitting us. I felt like we were in kindergarten because she always had to watch us. Like, we couldn't do things together. Like, if she told him, hey, can you take the trash out? He'll be like, oh, can Charissa come with me? And it's like, and he's like, no, you don't need that. She's like, but it's too heavy, just some sort of excuse so that we can both be together. She's like, no, you can do it yourself. She has other stuff to do. I felt like we were children. We were like in a little daycare, and our manager was our like the adult in the
adult in the room.
Exactly, and she was always just having to watch us. So it's just fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. A lot of managers or the organization actually embrace this work bestie relationship with their employees. And it's like for us, Jess, right? Like, people actually like that. They embraced it.
Yeah.
They knew it. It feels like for you and your work bestie where you were, it wasn't the same. It wasn't as because they were separating you.
Yeah, but I mean, so for her, she was actually one of the best managers I've ever worked with. She was great. She was amazing. So I'm very blessed to have had be able to work with a very good manager because she's the type of manager where if you did your work and you did what you were supposed to, she recognized it. And there's not a lot of managers out there that do that. So when you actually work with a manager that, you work hard and they recognize it and then they move you up for it, it's very rewarding to work with someone who does that. So luckily for us, she was our manager. But then eventually we ended up separating because we ended up moving up within the company. So I ended up working somewhere. He ended up working somewhere. So we would just text each other, but we ended up in the same in the same position. So we would still text and talk and vent and laugh and everything, but it would be different. Like, we would even time our lunches at the same time so that we could both go to lunch at the same time. And that would be our venting session. We would literally spend the whole hour just talking to each other. So it's just, it still carried on, whether we were in the office working together or we were in different cities doing whatever it was we were doing, we still connected. And since we were still with the same company, we were still able to talk, laugh, stress about the same
Still
thing.
have that
So,
same, the same
exactly,
knowledge about stuff that
exactly,
you can share and talk
But
to.
luckily,
So it
we were
doesn't sound like, just to correct the question, so it doesn't sound like your boss was against you being best friends or the workplace besties. It just sounds like she was trying to find ways to motivate you guys to be a little bit maybe more efficient in your roles.
yes,
But
exactly.
that's good, because I think and the reason why Claude was asking that, I'm going to Claude explain, everyone.
Yeah,
Um,
you're doing the clothes planning. Thank
This
you.
is the morning of the episode where Jessica Claude explains. The reason she asks is because one of the things that we are so pro is having managers that support the encouragement of work besties. Because to your point, like, even if it's only the 10, 15, 30 minutes of your lunch, like, the amount of energy you get back from having that quick connection or quick conversation gets you instantly much more motivated, much more productive, and just an all-around better mental state when you get back into your work.
Yeah,
So
Exactly.
there is a Gallup survey actually that shows that employees are more productive when they have a work bestie.
Then
So
I totally, I'm not surprised. Like
yeah,
yeah,
I would say yes, I absolutely 100% agree. Even though maybe we gave our manager headaches because of our little stunts, but yeah, we were productive. We were too.
yeah.
I would like to hope we were.
what about your coworkers around you? How did they handle or appreciate or not appreciate you two as work besties?
It was more so that we were so close that if I wasn't with them, they'd be like, "Oh, where's your other half?" So it was kind of like we were instantly like always paired together. You
Yeah.
know, like maybe I would be lying if I said that we weren't annoying. So I'm pretty sure we probably annoyed them, probably because of all our giggles, our laughs, our inside jokes. But it was just honestly what I would have to say. Being able to work with my work bestie, I still say was definitely the highlight of my career. It really was. Like being able to work with them is definitely the highlight. Like if I can like there was a point where because we both had gotten promoted. So that's how we both ended up working in different stores. So we were talking about it and we were saying that, even though we got promoted, which is great because that was our goal. If we can turn back time and just go back to when we were working together, we would definitely do that in a heartbeat. We definitely would love to go back, turn back time with the same manager that we were working with, the same coworkers. It was fun. It was very fun. It was fun. It was good times.
This is kind of diverting topics again. Out of all of your content, which one went viral that you were most surprised about?
I would have to say was those dancing bears. It was a CapCut template, and then I think when I first saw it, it was like something about me and my husband when we go to Target or something. It was like they related to Target, but then when I saw it, I was like, it's like something clicked in my head, and I was like, okay, well, this is something like this looks like something like me and my work bestie hyping each other. And then I found like the SpongeBob falling apart, with the fire and stuff. So dude, this really will play very well with work. So I just put two and two together, and I just remember signing on to TikTok, and all of a sudden I had like all my notifications were blowing up. I was like, whoa, what is going on? And I looked, and yeah, my dancing bears, people were tagging their besties. And I was like, this is so awesome. And they were like, this is us, you and me, us on Monday, that. And I was just like, wow, this is great. And honestly, those dancing bears, I love my dancing bears because they really set the tone for my content. They really did.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
totally makes sense. That's
I
so
did
fun.
not think they were gonna go. I did not think so. I did not think my dancing bears would.
And that was your very first one. Wow.
That was my
You
very.
really knocked it out of the park from the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like I think February of March of last year, and then
Wow. Sure,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. I was always loved my dancing bears. I owe it to my dancing bears.
You said all of your content is from experiences, your personal experiences, and this is now your full-time job. How are you getting new inspiration?
Yeah, honestly, it just comes up. There are just moments like my husband will say something and I'll be like, okay, because he'll tell me about work and he'll say something and I'll be like, oh, okay, I can make something off of
That's
this,
it.
or my work bestie,
So
he'll
she'll
share
tap into
stuff.
inspiration from him. So we do need to bring him
Exactly,
on.
exactly. So it's just that. It's just all of that and stuff. And then just trying to just remember it's like 15 plus years working in retail in a customer service job. I feel like it's endless. There's always something. And if I,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
there's
right.
always something. So
Yeah.
exactly,
No, as we talk about, you've got a lot still to come. I foresee this being many, many years of great content.
thank you. I can post about cashiers. I worked at a toy store, restaurant, I even managed also. So it's just
Oh,
like,
gee.
yeah, so there's a lot. That's all that matters anyways. It's like I just as long as they enjoy it, my audience, my community, they enjoy it, they find it relatable. That's all that matters. They're able to laugh about like work stress, just like kind of think of it, put it in a different sense, so that's all
You're
that matters.
kind of like a virtual work bestie, if you will.
Yeah, actually my bio, I'm like your work besties.
Oh,
Yeah,
because it's
so
true. Because as much as you want to have the person to vent to, it's just as important to have that little bit of moment where you just laugh. You just
exactly.
right, and that's what your all of your content kind of does, and
Exactly.
it is so relatable. So it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
So where do you feel this is going to evolve?
I have goals set for myself, but I would love to I want to, so pretty much I'm in the point where I just want to see where this goes.
Okay.
I would like, of course, hope for the best, I guess, we'll see. We'll see how things go. But as of right now, I am enjoying it. And I'm just happy to hear that other people are enjoying it too. And that right there is my motivator, my drive to continue creating the content that I'm creating.
You already are hitting your goals in one way.
Yeah. Oh, I never even thought like it still blows my mind. It still absolutely, even when I hit like 5,000 or 10,000, I was like, wait, what? Like me, little old
Over a half
me,
million now. Like
little
that's
old me.
amazing. Can you imagine you're talking to that many people and passing along
Yes,
that
yes.
little bit of like positivity out in the world? That's amazing.
Yeah, and with everything that's going on these days, I feel like there's so much negativity going on. And sometimes, we just need more positivity. We need
Mm-hmm.
more laughing,
Yes.
laughing is definitely the best. It really is.
And a more appreciation too, right? Like
Exactly. And then it's just also, well, there is one now that you brought it up. I would like to really want to promote mental health, that you have to prioritize your mental health and don't put your job in front of it, because your mental health is so precious. It really is. And you can't tear yourself down for a job that, like I always say, is like for a job that will replace you tomorrow. So it's just, so I would like to really focus and emphasize on mental health, especially in the workplace. I also want to continue to emphasize workers' rights. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of employees don't know that they have the right to do this. There's something called FMLA. There's not a lot of employees that know they have that right, so I also want to try to let it out there.
educate.
uh,
Yeah.
exactly, to educate, and then just so that people know that, yeah, so don't sacrifice your mental health for a job. Really don't.
That is so smart. I think one of the things that wasn't really explained to me earlier in life is the importance of mental health, and even just having someone to talk to, a therapist, just to
Absolutely.
let it out there. And a lot more companies, it's a part of your healthcare, and sometimes you don't even know it.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's just as important, if not more important, than your annual checkup, right? Like
Exactly.
keeping your mind at ease is so important.
Mhm.
Some people can do it just with work memes, but not all of us can. Some do need that
Yeah.
other person to talk to. And I think it's so important to remind people it's okay. It's actually really a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it is, especially because like I remember one time, like I worked like 2 straight weeks, like I think from like 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m., no days off, nothing, for and at this job I was actually part-time. So
Yeah.
for me, working 2 full straight weeks, it was kind of like, now knowing better, it was like that wasn't right. So it's just kind of
No.
like there's a lot of people that don't know that. I was very young at that time. So there's not a lot of people that know that. And it's good to kind of just share that for people so that they don't feel like, they're being taken advantage of at
Right.
jobs,
Right.
and that,
Right.
if they are, that it's pretty much what value do you bring to your job. That's what should matter. It shouldn't matter if you're working through your breaks or working through your lunch or coming in on your days off. It's what value are you bringing to the job, and
Right.
what work ethic.
I think the way you positioned it is the balance of what's the wellness in your life, right? So it's okay to really appreciate and want to excel in your work environment, but it's almost more important, at least equally, if not more, that your home life, whether that means you're young and social and going out and doing stuff, or you've got another side hustle career, or you have kids and significant others, whatever that is, all of that is so important, and you really do need to balance that and be
Mhm.
reminded that those are just as important, if not more, right?
Exactly. Because I went through a time where I thought about work so much, where my husband would be talking to me, but my mind was
Was
elsewhere.
wandering.
My mind was like focused on, oh, I need to do this. It's the end of the month. I haven't
Yeah.
done this.
Oh
This
my gosh, I forgot to send that one last email
exactly,
before I left the office or
exactly.
something.
And like
Yes, yes.
it would just, I all of a sudden, like, he'll be looking at me, and I'm just be like realize, oh, you're not talking anymore. So when you go through that stuff, you develop your own coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
But when I started talking to a therapist, which should be like, a lot of people when they say, oh, I saw a therapist, it's kind of like, it feels like it's kind of taboo. It's still a
Oh,
little
I
taboo,
think again, I think it's just
but
as important. Yeah,
it's just
as
as
a
important. Yeah, it's very
I
important.
think that thankfully is not as taboo as it was. Like
Correct.
oh yeah.
people
I
can
like that people
admit.
talk about it, openly admit.
And it shouldn't be a bad thing. Exactly. And it shouldn't be a bad thing. It shouldn't be something you're embarrassed with, because because they helped me. They helped me realize that all my coping mechanisms that I was trying to do was actually unhealthy.
Yes.
So it was just like, so they're able to help you reflect. So, seeing a therapist sometimes, yeah, it's very
Because your
important.
mind, as amazing as it is, will always go to the simplest things to get to relieve you. That's not usually the best thing. Remind, like, once you get into the practice of those correct coping mechanisms, it is easy, but the hurdle in the beginning, yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
important to have someone to help you through it.
and especially like you said, it's always like, don't lose sight of your family, don't lose sight of your significant other, don't lose sight of your kids, just that, because like kids, they'll, like my toddler will only be a toddler for so long, and then that's it, it's gone. It won't happen again.
Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this. This was such an honor to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was such thank you so much for having me. You guys were great.
You're all about putting the positivity out in the world and making sure people find those connections, whether it's a work bestie, whether it's just a moment to laugh. And we so appreciate what you're doing. And we shamelessly tap onto it and repost your stuff too.
Thank you.
Your content's amazing.
Thank you.
Brighten our life and we can relate and it makes us feel better. We really love it. So thank you really for coming.
Remember, whether you're swapping snacks in the break room, rescuing each other from endless meetings, or just sending that perfectly timed meme, having a work bestie is like having your own personal hype squad.
So keep lifting each other up, laughing through the chaos, and of course, thriving. Until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and don't forget to keep supporting each other.